Tying up a quick little damselfly nymph. This is what I call a Marabou Damsel Nymph because it's kind of a amalgamation of some different damselflies that are already out there. Over the years, I tie these for some smallmouth bass fishing, mostly for trout fishing. And there's different patterns that are already out there, like I said. And I kind of came up with just a quick Marabou Damsel Nymph that's easy to tie. It does the job, and it's just a quick tie. So this is it. It's worked very well over the years. I thought I would share it. That is a Marabou Damsel Nymph. I'll get started tying. I'm going to start the Marabou Damsel Nymph with my hook in the vise. This is a Tiemco 200R, TMC 200R in a size 10. I'll debarb the hook, and I just like to use the curved caddis hooks like this. Any curved caddis hook from Daiichi or Mustad or whoever you want to would work. After I debarb the hook, I'm going to attach my thread. I'm using this is a 70 Denier Danville 6/0 in olive, and I'm using the olive thread simply because the damsel nymph is going to be an olive nymph. You want to make it all black, then or brown, just change your thread color appropriately. I'm going to attach my thread a little bit behind the eye, make a little base layer of thread, and I should end with my thread hanging about an eye length behind the eye of the hook. Here I'm going to tie in some Bead-Chain eyes. These are just a small black Bead-Chain eyes. You could also use mono eyes if you wanted to with this. And you could also add a little bit more weight. So if you wanted to put some weight on the hook shank here, you could certainly do that. I want to make certain that cross piece on those Bead-Chain eyes is at least about an eye width behind the eye of the hook. I need to leave a little bit of room for finishing off the fly and making the head and so on. This is a fairly simple, straightforward damsel nymph, quick to tie, and that's one of the reasons why I like it. As I said in the introduction, it's kind of a amalgamation of other damsel nymph flies that are out there. There's tons of different patterns if you want to look them up, but they're really straightforward. This one is just one that I came up with, and it may be one that I learned years ago and forgot the name of, but I just kind of been tying it over the years, and it's been very productive for me. So now I'm going to use, because this is a little bit larger hook size, I'm going to use 3 different Marabou feathers here. The first one, when you get your package of blood quill Marabous, you have a lot of feathers in here like this that have the barbs on them, have very slender tips with no barbules on them. A lot of them that look like this. But every now and again, you get a few of them that are really, really kind of full like this. I like to use these for the tailing material. A couple of different ways you could do that. You could just take this and strip this off, which is what I'm going to do, and tie that in, or you could even just use the very tip of it if you want. But this just kind of puts those feathers to good use. Doesn't have to be real thick. You just want something kind of fluffy. And the tail isn't very long. Maybe it sticks out about half a shank length behind the final tie-in point. A little bit further down. I like to wrap these so they go down the bend just a little bit, and they kind of have a downward point to them. Should say point in a downward direction. I'm going to trim off the rest of this generally up in towards the front and tie that in. This will all get tied down and cleaned up in just a minute. Now I'm going to stop maybe about midway down the actual length of the shank, a little bit farther forward. This is going to be the abdomen, or excuse me, the thorax portion here, and here's my abdomen. Here I'm going to tie in what's going to end up as the wing case and the legs. This is pheasant tail, so I'm just using some pheasant tail fibers here. You can get a fair bit off of these, or you can keep this skinny. It's really kind of up to you. The one thing you're going to do, you have to kind of play around with it, and I don't get too hung up on it. But when we tie this in, when we fold this over, you're going to have some of these tips about half a shank length that are going to be over the front. We're going to pull those over, and we're going to tuck those down underneath like this, is almost like a throat. So you have to consider where your tie-in point is for this material to fold it over. So I've got this that's going to get folded back, and this is where it's going to get tied in and folded over. So just being a little bit careful with that in terms of measuring it. And if it's a little long, I don't sweat it. If it's not that long, if it's a little short, I don't sweat that either. You can make this a little thicker if you want a little more pronounced wing case to it. Now I will fold this forward, bring my thread back down to the very end here. Now you could have done some of this actually before we tied in the wing case, so I could have had everything ready beforehand. I'm going to tie in some wire. I've got some medium copper wire here. I'm going to tie in, and this is just for a little segmentation, a little color. Mostly it's more for protection for the marabou abdomen. I'm going to tie this in right along the abdomen portion on the other side of the hook. And actually, if this gets tied in on my side, that's fine, because this is going to be wrapped in, counter wrapped. Leaving that forward a little bit. Now I'm going to tie in the next bit of marabou. I'm going to take kind of a sparse, I don't want it super thick, marabou feather, blood quill. I don't need a lot of this in the bottom section here. So I'll strip some of that out because I want this to stay kind of skinny. What I'm going to do, I'm going to collect all the tips of that together. I'm going to tie this in. Understand, if you're also doing this fly on a smaller size hook, say a 14 or 16, you can actually get the whole fly done with one marabou plume. And I grabbed this by accident. All the more reason to maybe get the wire in. It's been a while since I've tied one of these. Get the wire in and the marabou, and then come up and put the wing case in. So once that is secured in, I'll bring my thread forward, and I'll just bring it up about halfway into the thorax. Grab my hackle pliers. Any of these bits of marabou that didn't get tied in, you can pull out if you want. Take my hackle pliers here, and I'm going to start twisting this a little bit. Don't want to twist it up super tight. I just want this twisted so that it lays on there and it looks kind of segmented, looks round, kind of juicy. And as I bring this forward, I want to get a bit of a taper there. So I might twist that up a little bit more just to get that taper in there. And see, this is where having the wing case in already is of benefit, because then I just put a wrap right up into the thorax region, tie this off, and that just gives me a nice little meaty looking abdomen down there. Take the wire, counter wrap that, probably about 4 to 5 wraps. We'll take care of it. Yeah, and see here, you can't really, you got to work around that wing case. Can't really do this like this without the wing case tied in before you apply that marabou. I get this up into the thorax region. I'll secure that in. Some wraps of thread. I'll fatigue that wire. Clean this up just a little bit. Now I'll go to my last bit of marabou. And again, this I do want a little bit of the thicker stuff down here. So I like to actually cut the center out of the feather right there, because I need something that I can wrap on. I can twist this up and wrap a few times, but it's going to be nice and thick for the actual thorax. So I collect all those tips, tie those in right in the thorax area here, and as you can see, this also is kind of making it a little bit chunkier, which is fine. Again, twisting that up a little bit. I'm going to bring this around. I don't want it necessarily to be corded, but I do want it to be just a little bit thicker. So feel free to put a little bit more in that, keeping that taper working forward. So you could see, if you're doing this on a size 14 or 16, you could probably, if you had the right feather, go ahead and get the tail in, wrap forward a little bit, fold it back, put your wire in, then wrap forward, fold it back, put the thorax in, use the same feather to go all the way around, and then even all the way right around here. You wouldn't have to transition to another feather, because that's all you're looking for right there, is just that nice kind of meaty looking thorax. The abdomen looks like it flows right into it. We'll take our wing case, we'll fold this down over. At this point, I want to bring my thread right up behind, in front of the bead chain eyes, holding that in place. We get a couple wraps in here backwards to anchor that, and then I'll split these up. Really don't have to split them up, because they're all just going to go folded right underneath the hook eye here. And transfer all of those right to underneath the hook. And then we'll build up a head on top of those, and that will get all of those points of that pheasant tail right underneath as our legs. the whip finish in, I can trim away the thread. I don't worry too much about any of the busted barbs or that marabou in the abdomen or the thorax. This thing's going to bounce around and it's going to get chewed up. You could put a little epoxy along that wing case if you want to. I generally don't, because the amount of time to mix up some epoxy and apply that and cure it and everything else, I could have, half a dozen of these things tied up. So you could put some UV on there, I suppose, if you want to. But that is just a quick Marabou Damsel Nymph. Great little trout fly, nice little smallmouth fly too. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. And what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.